Welcome to the Mystical Truths Podcast. This is Rebecca, and I'm really glad you're here. Let's unlock your world. Thanks for joining in, everyone. Today I'll be talking with Michele, who wants some guidance along her life path. She's been feeling the nudge to expand for a while now, and she's ready for more. So welcome, Michele. Thank you for bringing your lovely soul to the show.
And thanks so much for the opportunity, Rebecca, to allow me to share some of my questions with you. I really appreciate it. And you know I have a lot of questions.
I do. I don't know what your questions are today, which is going to be fun. We decided to leave this organic and just in the moment. So Michelle's just going to let me know what's on her mind, and we're going to get into it. So what's on your mind, Michele?
Well, what's on my mind, Rebecca, is, I was listening to the last podcast with Sharon, and Tammy, and you had said something about the soul comes into this life with a set of perceptions and a set of ideas, and that got me to thinking about morality. And I know morality is kind of a society-based phenomena. It's, whatever a society feels is right or wrong. But I also know that I get very strong feelings of this is right or this is wrong. And so I guess my question to you is, do these perceptions guide us in our morality? Is there such a thing as spiritual morality, or really is it all environmentally based?
Well, Spirit tells us that there's really no right or no wrong. So there really isn't what we would call morals, spiritually speaking. But if we did use that word for our soul self, that would mean what in this moment is beneficial for us or not beneficial. What's good for me right now or what's not so beneficial for me right now. And so that's something that's always going to be just in that moment. It may not be across the board. It may not be across your entire life. And that's why intuition is so key in navigating this life and knowing just for us right now what's a good fit. And that's where that guidance comes from. When we are not trying to figure life out, when we're being easy and we feel somehow we must be connected to that guidance, that's when we get those impulses or those feelings of, that's a good idea for me, or that's not a good idea. It doesn't mean it's not an option. It just means it's not a better option. Does that make sense?
It does. So what you're saying is that our souls don't really have a preference as to what we do or how we feel, but it's based mostly on what we want to achieve, or maybe that's the wrong word, what we want to experience as we come into this existence.
Right, because, you are your soul. The bigger percentage of who you are as a soul is guiding, is participating in this experience, but this focused part of you is really calling the shots, so to speak. So if this physical experience that you're having, let's say, causes you to want to do drugs, you may feel fine with that. Your soul may not be saying, no, stop, don't do that. Because for whatever reason or reasons, that experience has honey in it for you right now. Now, it doesn't mean that your soul's going to say, okay, go over there and do drugs. We are on the leading edge here. So if something in what we've set up for ourselves here brings us to that, then it's not wrong. It may not be the best option for us, or it may be. Because you can talk to many people who have been through that type of experience and are not having that drug experience anymore, but gained so much wisdom and so much inner knowing from that, that although they wouldn't want to do it again necessarily, they can appreciate what value and what expansion they got from it. Now, does that mean that everybody should do drugs, that that's for everybody? No, absolutely not. Because maybe learning gymnastics is something that you really feel drawn to. It feels good. That's a good idea for you then. Where somebody else, if we say, well, you should go learn gymnastics too, because that felt good to that person, so it must be good for everyone. That wouldn't be correct necessarily. If that person isn't feeling it, it's a no.
So how does that work then on a global level? So, I kind of get that what you're saying is that as our soul is focused here, we have our own preferences as to what we want to experience, what we don't want to experience, or what is right for us or not right for us, depending on what we choose. But what about like on a global level? How does that work? Does the spiritual world not care?
The ones that are not physically focused here on this planet as humans do care, are paying attention, are guiding, and do have preferences and desires for us globally and individually, and are always streaming that in our direction. Whether each of us is fully receiving that or not, it's still there. It's there with every tree, with every blade of grass. It's just there as a whole. And the basis of that is love. Everything that every single one of us, and there are so many people on this planet right now, that when you think about it, every single one of us is seen and guided, understood, and allowed to have that free will and pick whatever you pick as you pick it. Because everything is so well synchronized, and this is a deep thought here. Every thought that we're having, every action that we're taking is known and well synchronized. So even though we might say, well, some people are choosing war, so how is that good for the whole? It's good for the whole in so many ways that it's hard for us to explain. Is it hard on the whole of who we are as beings? Sure it is. Can be. It doesn't have to be. But is there balance then? Because if they start war over there and they start war over there, are we all going to start war? Not necessarily, because we have that balance of lots of souls who are here and well connected and wanting love and wanting peace. That always is going to be the balancer. So does non-physical affect what's going on here physically? I would say absolutely, but it's more indirect than what a lot of people think it is, because they're not telling us what to do and what not to do. But at our core, we're all mature, intelligent beings of liquid love, we'll say. And some of us might get really twisted up here and in this contrast, and it's okay because we want all this contrast. But none of us are going to we can't go far enough to upset the whole. Because, and this is the big saving grace here, because the bigger percentage of all of us is not physically focused and paying attention, and sees the broader vision of what we're all up to here, sees the synchronicity behind all of this, and is contributing. So it's a co-creative process for sure. We are creating here. We're leading edge creators. We're thinking thoughts and having desires that have never been thought from our unique perspective ever before. But we're not doing that alone. So there definitely is that influence that I think if any of us, I hear people talk about how they had a near-death experience or a spiritual experience, and they were told that they were sort of going off their trajectory. And so there's this, you could call intervention, that says, okay, well, we're just reminding you that that's not really what your intention was or is. We still have the option to say, well, so what? I'm going that way anyway. But we usually are so well connected that we we go ahead and hit that reset button and appreciate the reminder.
So basically, we don't have to worry about whether or not we destroy our planet and ourselves in the process and being completely wiped out as a race, or because there's that balance.
Well, because, it's happened before on this planet where humans have, well, maybe I'm going to say humans. I don't know if that's always been the exact makeup that we are now, where we've sort of self-imploded. Atlantis is said to have been that. And it's not a big deal. There's nothing serious going on here because we are non-physical. So if humans just, all take a pill and die, we'll just come back at this another way. Now, again, we're not going to do that. We've this time we have come so far, and we're in a great accelerated, we'll call it a shift right now, an awakening, that we're not going to self-implode. But again, it's really important for us to know that there is no reason to worry because there's no end to us. It's sort of like if let's say we all met up and did this dance routine together and it just wasn't working out. We decided to all just call it a day and stop doing the dance together. We just go do something else. Or we regroup and come back and try it another way. So that's similar to what we're doing here. We're not going to destroy the planet because there is too much, there's way more guidance for the well-being to this entire planet. Because the well-being is going to every rock, every leaf, every blade of grass, every creature. That well-being is streaming nonstop. The planet knows how to take care of itself. All of creation knows how to take care of this planet. We have enough guidance that if we...
I have so many questions.
Well, and I was just going to say that we have so much guidance that if we are doing things that are damaging the planet, we're going to see it and we're going to have desires about that. Just like how people were noticing, like, we have so much plastic. Like, plastic was a neat invention. But then it got to be where we thought, okay, wait a minute, is this too much? And so now we're having ideas about that. We're receiving inspirations about what to do about that. So they're always going to be one step ahead of us. So go ahead, what were you going to say?
Well, first of all, I was going to say that is actually reassuring. So thank you for that. But I have so many questions in my head right now, but I kind of want to go back to something that you said about we are all mature souls that are love. I have heard that we are a young soul or an old soul, depending on how many times that we have reincarnated. Right. So can you tell me a little bit how you feel about that? And also, does that affect how we perceive morality here on this planet?
Yeah, I think that's something that we don't quite have enough. I think we'll get more information on that. I don't think we have quite enough information to fully understand that, because if we are eternal, then how would there be younger ones and older ones? Do we rejoin with the whole and then sort of come out as a fresh young soul again? Is there a cycle to this? Some people say that there is some type of a cycle like that, but I think that because we are so used to the human being born, dying, and being younger, older, that we want to put that into the way non-physical is structured as well. And we also have to consider, too, when we say, oh, you're an old soul, you're a young soul, are we just saying that you have incarnated here fewer times if you're called a younger soul and more times if you're an older soul, just on Earth? Or does that refer to anywhere that we can incarnate? Or our age as a soul, if there's such a thing? So I think to make it easier on the human brain, we should say for now, to consider what we call a younger soul, a soul who is less experienced here on this planet. Maybe very mature or very experienced in other incarnations elsewhere, or may have been a soul for, I don't know, a long, long time. Because we can't, it's really tough for us to get eternity explained in our minds. And I remember being very young and thinking, so, all right, if there's this eternity, what was here before that? And what's going to be there after that? And where did it come from in the first place? And then, wait a minute, that can't be, because eternity means always being. And I thought, so it's an interesting concept, because eternity is something that means always existing. There's never been a time of not existence, which makes sense the more you understand about non-physical. But when you're looking at it just from a physical perspective, we think birth, death, we go from point A to point B. We see beginnings and endings all over the place. So we think that when we talk about non-physical, we want to attach that time, space, reality, the beginning, the ending to that. When maybe for now, we should just stick with a young soul means you've been here fewer times. An old soul means you've been on earth many times, and you just come in with more as far as experience goes, or being able to navigate goes. Does that explain that to you?
Well, it brings up a question, which is, if the non-physical realm does not necessarily experience time, but only eternity, but yet they're guiding us, how do they guide us from an eternal realm into a realm of time?
Well, they have a broader view of what we're all up to here, what our intentions were, what we're thinking right now, how we're changing our mind about things. They have a broader perspective. We have a very limited understanding and perspective of this world that we're in, and the physical experience that we're in. And with that broader vision, it would be easier to guide us in a time frame, because they understand that we have time and we have space. We have distance. And so this would be pretty much a no-brainer, I'm sure, for them to be able to guide us through this maze sort of that we're in. And keep in mind too, and this is a little bit of a brain bender, but keep in mind too that we have so many, I guess I'll call it alternate realities, that exist as well, that we can experience or tap into. And that one we're beginning to understand and maybe be able to wrap our heads around a little better, but it's still a big one, to think that here we are, Rebecca and Michele, having a conversation, and there are other timelines that we're participating in at the same time.
I've heard somewhere that if you can heal yourself on this timeline, that it heals it heals your spirit on all the other, I guess our spirit doesn't need healed, so maybe that's the wrong word, but it heals ourselves on other timelines. I don't understand how that works.
That could be a possibility. But at the same time, if, let's say, for example, when I was younger, I was tossed down a flight of steps and my femur was dislocated from my hip. And that's been a thing ever since. I've had 3 surgeries through my life because of it, and it altered my future. It changed a lot. And there's a lot of good. There's a lot of good that came out of it. That's why I teach today. I went inside more in myself. I couldn't be physical, couldn't take gym, couldn't do a lot of things that other kids could do. And which was perfect for me. I didn't know it, but it was perfect for me because I was questioning life. I was questioning why we're here and all of that. And so it led me inward. But I could very easily say, well, what if that didn't happen? What if I healed that whole thing and that didn't happen? Well, since I've had that thought, that alternate reality exists. But if I go to that alternate reality, do I need to heal this one? You know what I mean? Like, why couldn't we have both? I think as a soul, we want to learn and expand in so many ways. And I wouldn't take away that experience. If somebody said, you can go back to your childhood and take that away. As hard as that was, and as much as that affected me and still does today, physically, I wouldn't take it back, because I've been able to see that I'm sure I put that in my experience for a good reason. And maybe I could say, well, I want to experience this life if that didn't happen. Okay, well, that's available. But I don't think I need to wipe out every other possibility and just have that one then where I'm healed. You see what I mean? There's so much good in all of the contrast and all of the variety that we experience. And that's why I always say, it really helps if you don't look at the tragedies and the upsets and the turmoils in your life as bad. You don't have to like them at all. But you have to be willing, if you want to feel good and really get your expansion here and get your happiness here, you have to be willing to look at those and say, I know there's honey in them. So what could it be? And you start to notice it. You really do.
Wow, that's pretty powerful.
It is. And heal whatever you want to heal right now. Of course, absolutely. If there are things that you're just feeling you want better or improved or expanded, then that's guidance coming through. That's lighting up for you. If that doesn't occur, then just keep going with what's there. If someone is not really feeling the urge to heal a health condition, that's okay. Maybe they will at some point, or maybe they won't, because this is serving them in a way that they don't know about. They can't see from maybe their perspective. But what we're up to, every single one of us here, it's working for us. It's working for us. Can we have better? Sure, there's always better. Whether we take it or not, or whether it's for us right now or not.
Which brings me back to morality and another question of whether or not there's karma. So if we, not necessarily in the sense of punishment, but in the sense of having the experience that you gave to someone else that wasn't pleasant for them, or maybe pleasant for them.
Okay, so if you think about it, with the way that people usually think of karma, we could go back to the person that kicked me down those steps onto a basement floor, a cement basement floor, and I blacked out, so I don't remember a whole lot after that. Should that person then have that happen to them? Everything in my heart says no. It's not an eye for an eye. That's not what karma is, especially if I set that up before I came in here. So karma is more, in my view, like the law of cause and effect. If we're mean to somebody, we're intentionally mean to somebody, when we're done with this physical experience, from what we've seen, we'll be shown that from not just our perspective when it happened, but anybody else's perspective that was involved in that. You're going to see it through the eyes of the person you hurt, not because you're being punished, not because you're being shown, see what you did and see how you made them feel. It's not about that. There's no judgment at all. We want to see it through those different angles. We want to understand how that works and how we get caught up in things here and what that brings out of us.
So can a soul then decide to experience karma because they feel guilty about something? So I'm thinking of a person who was shot and killed and it was the family has said that they always, or the person knew that this was going to happen because he was in the military and he had killed quite a few people. I mean, so was that his choice then to die that way, or like, was that karma?
Yeah, I mean, there's no punishment. There's no reward system either. So if that soul wanted to experience the other side of that, sure, that would become a thing. But there's such a beautiful synchronicity to everything that occurs. And as the broader part of our soul, we're fully aware of what we're syncing up to, what we're bringing by cause and effect. And none of it's by accident. None of it does not have purpose. So when someone shoots another person and causes that death experience, which is the continuation of life, there's no judgment about that from the other side. There's no surprise either about it. Even the soul that was the person who was shot, that leaves their body, is not mad and thinking that that was unjust and wanting this person to pay a price for it. We fully understand that that was my means of exit, and it served me and anybody that it touched in ways that can be useful if we'll allow it to be. The person that did the shooting brought themselves to that, and what comes after that, whether it be jail or being shot themselves. And did it have to be that way? Well, that's a varying thing, because we don't have to bring ourselves into trauma or prison time. But people do. That's part of being in this contrast. It may be what was intended by the soul, something that the soul was intending to experience in this life. You know, if you think of people who were in jail for most of their lives, it would make most people say, why would I set that up for myself? Why would I put myself through that? Well, why not? Because there's so much to be had from all of it as an expanding being. You know, we don't want to just come in and do the same thing every time. We don't want to come in and have just this super simple ride every time. We want some challenges. We want to dig in. We want to expand and see life through different lenses every single time. Very different lenses. Because it helps eternity be eternal, because we keep having more desires because of it, and because we understand ourselves, the whole of life here and not here, better. So, and that's why I always tell people, you know, no matter what it is, you have to be willing to look for the honey if you want to find yourself, or you want to find your happiness, find what people call their purpose. Our purpose is to have desires, to be in this world of contrast and have that spark desires and contribute to eternity. So we're here to learn lessons. I don't think it's that. This isn't necessarily a school. Schools are more like prisons.
I'm so happy to hear you say that.
They really are. It's conformity. And we're getting wise to that finally as a people. And so, you know, we want to come here. We're not forced to come. We're not forced to take a life where you're going to end up in a relationship that you just don't want to be in, you don't like, or where you're made to have a handicapped child or, you know, affected child that requires a lot of care. You're not made to come in and take that on. We signed up for that. We knew that was a really good idea. And the soul that came in with the, what we call disabilities, signed up for that too. Because again, it makes us think, why would I want to come in and have a life from day one that is physically different and difficult and challenging for me and the people around me? Why would I want to do that? There are a lot of really good reasons why we want that. And we just have to be willing to see that if we want to feel good. You know, we can punish ourselves unnecessarily and say, like, well, why me? Woe is me. Why am I the one that has this body that doesn't work as well as everybody else's? Or why am I the one that has to care for this child or this now adult that came in with these disabilities? We're going to ask ourselves those questions, but it helps if we can get past that and say, yeah, really, why? Like, why? What's in it here? Where's the honey? Where's the value in this? And when you start asking yourself that type of question, you start to get those answers. And you start to see life for what it's really about, instead of just on that surface level of what we think it's about.
So then there are soul contracts. People who have chosen to incarnate together to either be of service to each other, to experience life together, or to challenge one another.
Yeah, and I don't even call them contracts. I know that's a popular word, but to me, that's a very confining word, because here on this planet, when we sign a contract, we're supposed to be held to that contract. It's not negotiable. It's signed. It's legal. It's written in stone. That's the way it has to play out. And that's not what is really going on with us as a soul. We agreed out of free will. We agreed to come in, and we agreed to ourselves the details, the basic details of what we wanted to come in for and what we wanted to expand about, maybe what we wanted to contribute. So yeah, we had a great idea, and we said, okay, so this is my gig this time, and I'll meet you here, and we'll benefit each other this way and that way. And then I think we make agreements with many, many other souls because everything is so well synchronized. Did the killer, the shooter, make an agreement with the shootee? Most likely. At least had the knowledge that could be a possibility. It could all come to that, which is fine. When we make these agreements, we're none of us are thinking, oh crap, like what if that happens? Or, all right, well, I mean, if I have to take that really nasty relative, then I'll do it. But I don't like it. I don't want that in there. We see the benefit of it. We see how that person is going to rub us the wrong way until we eventually don't allow it anymore. It's a great way to find more of your power as an individual and as a soul. So we set up these grand experiences that we all have said, okay, it's almost like putting an orchestra together. And that one's going to play the horns, that one will be the violinist, that one will be we all have a part. And when we all play together, it makes the whole, it makes the music. And I think once we begin to appreciate that more and recognize that we have an agreement, but the agreement is more to ourselves and to our own intentions. It's not something that we're forced into. And so it's not something that we should worry about. Am I going against my contract? Or is that why I'm in this terrible relationship? Because it's in my contract. So I just have to suck it up and deal with it. That's an upside down human perspective. We always have free will. We always have choices. And if we would recognize that everything is an inside job, then we would get easy about it. And we would decide, maybe I did want to come into this terrible relationship, and maybe now I'm done with it. Maybe now I realize that there's no point to it anymore. It doesn't have to serve me anymore.
I love how you always say, you just have to be easy about it. I love that. And I think when we understand, or what I'm thinking anyway, is that when we understand that, we've actually, maybe not down to the minute or down to the second, but we did have some control over our lives before we came in, that kind of takes the drama out of everything.
Yeah, and it takes away the powerlessness feeling that life happens to us and that we are being orchestrated and that we have little
Exactly.
say in what happens. You have complete say in what happens. We all do. And the more we realize that this is a co-creative process and that we're having the desires and then we're allowing the solutions and the guidance, the good ideas, the opportunities, we're not getting them. We're not being given them. We are allowing them. That teaches us to have a desire and then pay attention. But I say that, but I just had another experience just yesterday or over the last couple of days where with this podcast, I decided to go ahead and put it on YouTube. And it's a process. And I went through all of Google's requirements and finally got it all on there. And Michele, because we did some test runs, that some of the test runs I was doing with you and somebody else weren't transferring over into my editing software correctly. And I thought, does that just happen to be because of the YouTube stuff? Is it because something else is wrong in one of the software, like the recording software, the program that I'm using, or is it the editing software program? So I'm, going back and forth with tech support, and I'm getting frustrated. And I thought, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're trying to figure this out. You think you're doing this. Chill. Get easy about it. The solutions will be there. You don't have to figure this out. You don't have to figure out what's gone wrong, what the solution is. Stop that. Get easy about it. Know that the guidance is there, the solutions are there, and you'll see them when you see them. So yesterday, instead of getting up and working on the podcast and all the issues, my grandson he wants to build this plushie. It's really this big, long process. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to work on that because he's at school, and I figured I'd just go ahead and get the sewing part done with the sewing machine. And so I'm sewing and doing this and that. And then eventually I just walked back into my office and I sat down at the computer and I thought, so I pulled up a tutorial, and I had been looking for tutorials to help me with this problem. I pulled up one and I saw this tutorial and I thought, oh, maybe that's it. And I watched it and I thought, oh, that's it. That's it. And literally within like 2 or 3 minutes, I got an email that I had been waiting for all day long from tech support. I got an email saying, oh yeah, thanks for the screenshots that you sent last night. Yeah, you fixed it. It's good. And if I had not seen that tutorial, I would have read that email and thought, I don't know what you're talking about. It's not fixed. I don't understand what you mean. But because in that perfect timing, in ease, I came back and I went ahead and felt like opening the one program, and I just felt like looking for a tutorial, and I was pleasantly watching it. I watched it like twice to make sure I understood it. Went back and I looked at the details of and I thought, oh yeah, okay, I really get it now. Everything is good. I'm good to go. Then I got that email confirming it when he didn't even know what just happened. And his email now made sense to me. I thought, well, there you go. And so even though I know this so well, I'm still human. And there are still moments where I will let my mind get ahead of me and start figuring things out. And I know as soon as the frustration comes in, that's my sign. You've now stepped out of a co-creative process and made it your creative process alone. And that one's a struggle. And I love when that happens because it's such a good reminder. It's a confirming reminder that this is how life works. And I'm easy on myself about stuff like that. I don't think to myself, oh, after all of these years and everything that you know and everything that you teach, shouldn't you know better than to get yourself in that little jam? I don't do that to myself. I just laugh at myself and think, that was a human experience. And I just got more confirmation that this is how life works. And isn't this fun? There's that ease that I know. There's that ease.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for all of these answers. And, hopefully I can go and approach my life with a little more ease.
Yeah, I really encourage that because it's a voluntary thing. Nobody can do it for you. I can tell you about it, but that's all I can do. So it's up to each one of us to just have enough of doing it any other way. And just keep reminding yourself, I'm being easy about this. I'm being easy on myself. I'm just going to be easy on that person for now. Or I don't feel like cooking right now, but we all need to eat, so I'm going to have to go cook. I'm just going to be easy about it. How about if I just be easy about it and just go make some food? So yeah, I would definitely encourage just reminding yourself, put the word ease around your house, for a while, and let that be your reminder.
I love that. Putting ease around my house.
Put the word ease, write it in nice, pretty bold colors, or write it in bizarre ways. Put it on the dashboard of your car. Maybe I should if anybody out there wants a bumper sticker or a cup or a something with these on it, let me know and I'll send it to you. I'll have my daughter make it. Or find something and you do it. Put it on whatever you want to put that word ease on there. I have a wine glass that I made for myself a good while back, and it says on it, this is between me and me. And I laugh at that every time I see it because I think, yeah, I'm having some wine right now because this is between me and me.
I love it.
It's just fun to like get yourself in that mode of there's no judgment about anything. And everything is between me and me, which means me, the human me that I know, and me, the rest of me that is not physically focused. It's always between me and me. And all of creation, of course, but we're not disconnected. When we say me and me, that's all of creation because it's all one. So I hope I answered some of your questions, and you're more than welcome to come back on again, Michele, and ask more. I like this format. This is fun.
Well, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. This was fun.
Yeah.
And pretty easy.
So anybody else, if you've had a spiritual experience, a near-death experience, whatever, you have questions, share it, because especially if you've never had anybody that you could talk to about it, or anybody that can explain it to you. I cross paths with people that'll say, I just nobody believes in this, and I can't talk about it because I don't really believe in it. But look, this happened. Let's just share it and help each other find out how life works, and that there is ease in everything, and everything really is okay. So that's why, yeah, I like this. I think it's fun. Hopefully it's helpful to everybody out there. As always, share, give me some feedback. So thank you very much, Michele, and I'm sure we'll talk again.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Sounds great.
Absolutely. And to everybody out there, I appreciate you very much. You can find me at mysticaltruths.com.